Welcome to Rock, Paper, Hand Grenade. This is Representative Gary Hopper, and this is...
People call me Vicky Slick.
No, they don't. They call you Damon.
I'm gonna have to
This is
screw you
Damon.
there.
We got Connor over there on standby in case he chokes. So,
Vicky Slick never chokes.
Dianna Ploss.
Dianna Ploss.
I met you at a rally, a free speech rally, right?
Was that the one in Boston?
No, it was out near.
So many rallies, so little time.
I know. It was
Right?
No, it was out in Belchertown.
Oh, yes. Okay, yeah. Oh, that's right. Oh, now Dawn's rising on Marblehead.
Yes.
Dawn, now I know. Okay, that was
Because I met you, then we scheduled you to come
right.
on the show. Then today I was saying, how do I know her?
That's right.
'Cause I
Because I
get
looked at you and said,
brain
you're familiar. Now it's all coming back where you were standing, we talked.
Yeah, we were shooting the breeze for a while because there's so much
Exactly.
crap going on.
There we go.
So so you, as much as I know about you, is you're a conservative Republican that was active in the Trump campaign in Massachusetts. So that means you got stuff thrown at you on a regular basis.
At the time I didn't, but I mean, is this a show where you can just like lay out the dirt?
Yeah, I don't care.
We can lay the dirt out?
As long as there's no cussage.
Oh, no cussage. So, yes, I volunteered for the Trump campaign in Massachusetts, and it was sabotaged internally by the Mass GOP.
Really?
Yes, as God is my witness.
How so? What was there?
So I'll tell you,
Because you're right.
it was sabotaged.
The real GOP, or the core of the GOP, which is the elitists, hate Trump.
Yes.
They
The
hate
establishment.
Trump.
They hate
Trump.
They hate President Trump. So here's the thing. I was not involved in politics. I lived in Cambridge, Massachusetts.
Wow.
I didn't grow-
I got mugged there.
Did you? I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
well,
What
that's
happened? Did
I
you
was
get hurt?
a little bit younger than him. Yeah.
Do you have to go to the hospital?
No, they knocked me out though. Pretty
It's
good.
terrible.
Yeah.
Well, I lived there for 14 years. Let's see, I didn't have any muggings, but let's see, my car got broken into, my wallet got... Somebody actually, I was taking stuff out of my car and I put the bag on my front doorstep and
How
the
dare
car was in
you.
the driveway. I had my wallet in the grocery bag. Somebody came, took the wallet out of the grocery bag and just took the money and left. Left my wallet.
How the heck did they do that quick?
Because I was around my driveway, my house was on a corner. Anyway, I digress, okay?
You did digress.
I digress.
Nice digression.
Okay, I grew up in Roxbury.
Oh,
I went to Catholic school,
right.
right? We did the Pledge of Allegiance, we prayed, we believed in the military, the police, JFK.
Right, yeah,
Right? So
yeah.
I was a JFK Democrat. And, you know, life goes on. I move out to the suburbs, I come back because I'm working in Boston, and I end up living in Cambridge.
Yes. Just side note, I think Cambridge is the first city to elect a communist as mayor.
Okay. They're also the first city that had a gay marriage. It happened, I was there.
Yeah, yeah,
I was there, that was midnight. I can't remember what.
yeah. Anyway,
So I lived in Cambridge because it was easy to get to my job.
Right.
It wasn't because I believed in the politics of it.
Right,
Okay?
right.
So we'll fast forward to 2013 with the marathon bombing.
oh yeah.
And I had planned to be at the finish line.
Wow.
And I was working on something, so I didn't go.
Yep.
And I was watching it on TV, and when it happened, you know, of course you're taken aback, and then it happened, you know, the second bomb went off, and people started to text me, call me, Facebook messages, are you all right? Because people assumed I would be there.
Yeah,
because
yeah,
it was
yeah.
only a three-mile walk from where I lived in Cambridge.
Right.
My mother still lives in that area. So when we were kids, we used to walk right down Boylston Street. So
Yep.
this was all my home. And that woke me up. So for the next 8 months, every Saturday, I walked from Cambridge down Boylston Street, either having lunch, dinner, spending any money, anything that I needed to buy, I would buy in that area.
Okay.
To give back to the shops, because many of the shops were closed for a long time.
Yeah.
So I wanted to give back.
Right.
Right? Saw the memorial down there. Anyway, then I started to read about what was happening in the world because I was uninvolved.
Right. You're just in your. Well, side note, that's actually one of the problems we have right now, is that the federal government is so big, it's so oppressive, that people like you, most people just want to let them do what they do, leave us alone, and that's it. But it's so huge, you almost have to get involved now.
Right, but the point is, we elect them so that we don't have to do that.
Right,
So
exactly,
we shouldn't
yeah.
need people like
You
me,
shouldn't, yeah.
right? We shouldn't need people like me to stop what they're doing in their lives and do this full time just to try to make a difference, right?
Yeah.
So, I started reading about what was happening and thinking, oh. So one day I was sitting at my table in Cambridge, and I said, I have to do something, but I don't know what to do. So I changed my party. So at my kitchen table and my laptop, I went from Democrat to Republican.
So you were the only Republican in Cambridge, Massachusetts?
No, actually, there are Republicans in Cambridge, Massachusetts.
That's hard to believe.
And I found out because we had a Trump campaign party in Cambridge.
Oh.
Yes, we did. And a lot of people were upset with us. But anyway, I ended up moving out of
Yeah.
Cambridge because that was my plan. And then a lot of things happened. San Bernardino, the Bataclan in France, all those things happened. And I'm reading and I'm like, what was I doing?
Right.
Where have I been?
Right,
Like,
right.
this is not good.
Yeah, so you're
right?
basically waking up.
I woke up and then, we have candidates running for president, and President Trump was just saying all the right things. And then as things happened, I ended up calling and volunteering and dove in, quit my job, and just kept.
Really? You quit your job?
I did. I quit my
Wow.
job, and I kept volunteering. And because I didn't know anything about politics, but because I'm older, don't say anything. Say anything. You don't
look-
make old jokes with women.
Absolutely. You look like you're 9 years old.
That's not good either, but that's all right. So I'll take that rather than 90. So hey, look at this one over there. He's coughing.
Yeah.
Just making sure.
Yeah.
So not new to life, things didn't smell right to me.
Right.
Like I'm like, this is how you win? And so it wasn't even until like a year and a half out now
Right.
that because I had met so many people, I put it all together. And if you just look back, it says effects of post-traumatic.
Oh, gosh.
Jeez. So I guess maybe that's what I'm talking about. But if you look back, in March of 2016,
Yep.
our governor, as I like to call him, Charlie Baker, who is a
Right.
fake Republican,
Yep.
he went to a secret meeting that he denies, but he went to the event anyway. So off the coast of Georgia, it's called Sea Island.
Right.
And all the mucky mucks were there from the 3rd of March until the 6th. And one of the things that they laid out there was, what do we do about Trump?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The Trump. Yeah. Go
Karl
ahead.
Rove was there, Paul Ryan,
Romney must have been
Romney was there. A lot of the rhinos, a lot of the establishment were there.
Yep.
And I imagine that there were other people there that we don't know about, but people found out that Charlie Baker was out of state. So even the Globe put out an article like, you left the state, you don't even tell anybody?
there. Right.
Right? He denies that he went to that meeting. Okay, so that was March. And then, so after President Trump won, he wasn't president at the time, won the primary, right? Now we go into caucus mode. I don't know anything about doing a caucus, but I'll tell you right now, I could do it really well now. I was intimately involved in helping to set up the caucuses all across Massachusetts. I ended up being a delegate.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was a delegate for Kasich, but if you know how the caucuses work, even though I was a Trump supporter, I went in that spot. And we can talk about how the delegate process works if you want to, but that's a separate issue.
That'd bore everybody to tears.
Well,
but it's inside
might bore
baseball.
them, but it is. But the thing is, it didn't mean that I supported him. President Trump won 22 delegates from Massachusetts,
Right.
but they had 42 delegate slots, so
Right.
not everybody could get into a Trump slot. So he had to go somewhere.
Right,
So they
right.
just put me in Kasich, and at the time I'm like, if you think somebody else is better than this, like I had no clue that
Right.
all it was an expensive party.
Right.
That's
right.
all it was.
Yep.
So then this guy comes on the scene, Vincent DeVito. And as it turns out, Vincent DeVito was Charlie Baker's attorney.
Okay.
Now he's the chairman, he's the running the campaign in Massachusetts
For the Trump.
for Trump.
So he's undercutting Trump.
He undercut him. The Mass GOP undercut him. The state committee undercut him. Nobody said a word. And if it weren't for the fact that I had met all these people and had been beating the drums. Like I would send him an email, Vincent, like, what are we doing? Well, we'll only do one thing at a time. Like, we didn't even have an organizational chart
Really?
until about 35 days before the general election.
Wow.
Okay? And so all of these things, they sent me on wild goose chases of stuff they weren't even going to ever do.
Oh.
In Massachusetts, they set up victory offices.
Yeah.
And so you're the first interview that I've told this story to. Like,
Oh,
I've
that's
told
cool.
other people, but you're the first interview. So
Wait a second, hon.
do we have a call?
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Hit the green button, damn.
Don't tell them where
one?
I live.
Okay, I won't.
Is it this one?
Yeah. Hello?
Yeah, hi, can I get in here, please?
Yeah, you're on the air.
Oh, great. I have a question for your candidate. The candidate you're speaking with. What is your feelings towards, how do we differentiate? President Trump always talks about fake news versus real news. So how do we differentiate fake news from real news as we go through our day? You know, it seems to be a little confusing.
Okay, what's your name?
Ricky?
Ricky, I'll have her answer the question, but when she's done her story, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks, Rick.
Thanks, Ricky. That's my brother's name,
Oh.
Ricky, so I won't forget your name.
Yeah,
So, and that was a very good question.
it is. It
Okay,
is.
it's
I
a
wanted to
really,
talk about
really
that
good.
today,
It's a
too.
really, really good question. And
So anyway, so Charlie Baker is
so
undercutting
Charlie
Trump.
Baker. So then he didn't go to the national convention,
Right.
and he made it very clear that he wasn't voting for Trump. Now, because I didn't know who the players were
Right.
until really about a year, we'll just say a year, a little more than a year later, that I could put everybody together, because I just happened, a group of me and a group of activists, right, who really wanted President Trump to win, despite what the Mass GOP and Vincent DeVito weren't doing, we did. We did a website, we did a Facebook page, we did a group, we
So you
did a
guys
Twitter.
ended up doing all the stuff they were supposed to do.
Yes.
Okay.
And I was nervous about it because I always say, you know, whatever the team is, you're not supposed to color outside the lines, but they weren't doing anything.
Well, you know what's worse than that? Is that the Charlie Bakers and the Mitt Romneys and all these other people are exactly the same Republicans who, when they give us some milquetoast Republican as our presidential candidate, said, yes, I know this isn't the candidate you want, but as Republicans, we got to fight for the greater good and support McCain, support
And that's a
Romney.
lie. That's a
Right?
lie.
Right. So, but that's what their mantra is when one of the insiders is in that slot. But as soon as Trump gets in that slot, all
bets are off.
All bets are off. We would rather have Hillary Clinton.
No, you're right, because I learned this. See, I didn't know any of this stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
But if you have the time, if what I did, and I worked tirelessly. I mean, during the campaign, I would get up at 6 a.m, and I was still going 11 o'clock at night, by myself on my computer, calling people, directing people, not going to events. I hardly went to events because I thought, geez, if I go to this event, I'm going to lose 8 or 10 hours.
Right,
I don't
right.
have time to do that.
Right.
So I would direct people to sign holding, to go up to New Hampshire, putting posts on we did it all. But anyway, so then Charlie Baker didn't vote for President Trump. But it wasn't until I kind of broke off with the campaign around that 35-day. It was either 35 or 33 days, because I could tell they were jerking me around, but I couldn't put my finger on it.
Right.
And it wasn't until watching what Charlie has done, and then being on the inside, looking at these people saying, you guys aren't Republicans. You're not Republicans, and I'm not expecting you to be a staunch conservative, because I'm not, right? I wouldn't say I'm I'm new to this.
Right.
But I've always been an American. I've always believed in America first. I've always believed, in God and country and the police and the military and closing the borders. I've always believed in that. All I did was switch from a D to an R, right?
Right.
But these people are progressives.
Yes.
These people, and so you see me on Facebook, right? Do
Yep.
you see what I post?
Yep.
I mean, I go after them because I'm saying to myself, what are we doing?
Oh yeah, they're horrible.
Like,
They're
what?
horrible.
What are we doing? So I haven't had time to do an affidavit about what happened
Right.
in the Trump campaign, but I have been disclosing. I just haven't had time. Right now, I'm working on Scott Lively's campaign. He's running for governor against Charlie Baker
Oh, good.
in Massachusetts. So he's a conservative. He's a constitutional attorney. He's a pastor.
Oh,
And-
really?
Yes, and he ran his own law practice, and he had a mission, and he's traveled all around the world. He's been to every state. The guy's brilliant. Whenever he comes to talk,
Yep.
he doesn't have any notes. Never.
Wow.
He's challenged Charlie Baker to a debate. Charlie Baker won't debate him. So what they're doing to Scott Lively is exactly what they did to the Trump
Trump.
campaign. I don't know what you have in New Hampshire, but we have victory offices. Do you have those in New Hampshire?
No, we don't really. We don't believe in victory in New Hampshire.
Okay, well, so that's funny. So they had, I think, 9 victory offices in Massachusetts during the Trump campaign, right? Trump people couldn't use them. We weren't allowed to use them. And the reason I know this is because I was trying to get people in. Little did I know when I would send an email that Ron Kaufman and Vincent DeVito knew one another. I thought Vincent DeVito was an outsider and that he was hitting these barriers. Little did I know that they all work together.
Oh, to make it look like he was hitting barriers,
Yeah.
he's doing his best. and
Exactly.
all this other
Exactly.
BS. Okay.
So can you imagine?
Good cop, bad cop.
Can you
right?
imagine all of this? The thing that burned me,
Yeah.
really burned me. You know, they jerked me around, wasted weeks, hours of my time. But for one man, Charlie Baker, one man was able to take away from over 1 million people, right, the opportunity to participate in one of the most the most historic election of our time, of their lifetime.
Right.
And he was able to take that away from people because they kept the enthusiasm down. People couldn't go in the victory offices to go door knocking, to do Trump talk
Phone
calls.
calls.
Nothing. And they're doing the same thing to Scott Lively, the same exact thing.
So they have victory offices, which is paid for by the Republican Party, which are places where candidates can go and make phone calls.
Their people can go.
People can go collect signs, give away signs, accept all the normal stuff that campaigns do. And you're telling me that they make sure that people they don't like don't have access to the resources.
Right, exactly. And so Scott Lively's a threat to Charlie Baker because he has a plan. And that's why I put it all together. That's why he didn't want people to get active for the Trump campaign. Think about this. What do you hear from the GOP all the time? Grassroots, right? That's a big lie. Like Ricky, wherever you are, that's fake news, right? Because you look at, you hear what people say and then you look at what they do. So if the Mass GOP really believed and they wanted the grassroots, during 2016, almost 1.1 million people in Massachusetts voted for President Trump.
Right.
That would be the perfect time to corral all those people into the victory offices, right?
Yeah.
Get all their contact information, flood the Republican town and city committees, identify people who are great candidates to run for office, and you're going to tell me they didn't do it when they had it right there? That makes no sense.
Yeah, it only makes sense if you realize that the thing is there's there's a set of politicians, and that set of politicians is the what call them the mainstream or the globalists, and they're all in it together.
Yeah, both sides.
It doesn't matter if
Doesn't matter if you're a Democrat or Republican.
you know the Nancy Pelosi's and the Paul Ryans.
They're all working together.
They're all working together. I mean, they will claim they believe in X or Y to make it give you the impression that you have a choice.
Exactly.
But they do not care.
They don't care.
How many have you seen Paul Ryan, Nancy Pelosi? All these people are supposed to care about America. What have they done about the drug crisis?
No, they don't care. You know what they care about?
Did they shut down the border?
No.
Did they start putting sanctions against China, where all the fentanyl is coming from? They didn't do that.
Well, you know why they didn't shut down? They don't want to shut down the border. First, because it doesn't go with their business model. Do you
Yeah.
know how many agencies are along the border that are making money off of you? Tax
Right.
dollars.
Oh, yeah.
Because what they are, they're holding places for illegal children, right? Or illegals, right?
Right.
It's processing centers that are for profit for these other organizations. That's
Yeah.
why if you close the border, same thing with the refugee crisis, right? It's not a refugee crisis, right? It's an invasion
It's an invasion.
paid by the tax dollars of Americans.
Yep.
Because these organizations, I don't know what you know about the refugee resettlement program.
Not a lot, but
So-
I get the idea.
So the UN is in charge of putting these people strategically all across the world, but particularly in
That part.
in,
yeah, yeah,
in the
yeah.
United States, right? Because
Yeah, Manchester is one of the
right,
settlement
yes.
points.
So you have them all over. So not only are they outbreeding us, which is the plan,
Right.
We're paying for it. These agencies get them quickly onto welfare, get the town or city to donate to these families so that they don't have to give up any of the money that they're getting.
Right.
And then these people go on welfare to the tune of about $16,000 per year per refugee,
Right.
forever.
I apologize for interrupting, but I think that we should answer Mr. Ricky's question.
Okay. Good. Good point.
Smart. I knew I liked you.
Okay. Yes.
So how do you differentiate fake news?
Yeah, I think that was the question. What do you see as fake news, and how do you differentiate it?
So can I just say that when President Trump used to say this, I didn't understand what he meant until I felt it personally.
Right. Okay.
So, Ricky, one of the ways that fake news works is that politicians, like in Massachusetts, and politicians have bought out the media. They've bought out the media. They're in cahoots with them, and what they do is they get the media to spin the story the way they want it to spin or not. So they won't cover something, or they'll put things out in a timing fashion. So, they'll time it so that it works best for the politicians. So the only way to find out if something's fake news or not is you have to do a little research, and it really doesn't take that long.
Sometimes it can.
No, but if it's a big story, but what I'm saying is if it's a small thing, like for example, Ricky, what they do is they will give a clip of what somebody said,
Right.
And they won't give it in context. So then people get outraged, they put a big title on it, some inflammatory title,
Yep.
right? And then gets people all in an uproar.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the best or clearest examples was a bunch of the news organizations ran with a story that President Trump called Hispanics animals.
Right, and that's not what happened.
So, and you can see they'll have the video clip of him calling them animals, but what they excluded was the question, and the question was in reference to MS-13.
Exactly.
Where MS-13 rapes people, they're dealing drugs, they're killing people, and Trump said they're basically animals.
They
and they're coming
torture
over
people.
They torture
They
people.
torture people.
Yeah, it's a pretty brutal, horrible group, and they're coming over the border on a pretty regular basis, and that's one of the reasons Trump wants to have control over our borders, and so that's a clear example of fake news.
But there's another way to tell, Ricky, is if you see in the title or whether it's in the title of something that's printed, right, say on Facebook or a newspaper, right, something that's printed, or an anchor, somebody who says they're a journalist, not an opinion writer, right, because
Right.
that's their opinion. But if somebody says they're a journalist and they use these adjectives, like descriptive adjectives, you know that it's slanted already.
Right.
Because if you are a journalist, you're supposed to just deliver the news.
The information.
You don't give those
And that's on-
inflammatory adjectives.
in all fairness, that's on both sides. Like if I read,
Oh, yeah.
I read an article on the right and it says the liberal commie scum, which is something I say all the time
He
because
does
it's
say
a
it.
joke. But if
He actually got on CNN because he said it.
I did. I'll tell you later. But yeah, it's on CNN about Trump campaign sign protection. I
Okay.
ended up on CNN.
I feel like this was familiar.
He built a bomb, basically. It wasn't like a bomb, but it was like a little
a trigger to
yeah.
things.
I think it set off
explode.
fireworks, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it set off fireworks if they go there to sign.
Oh, okay, okay.
So, but anyway, that's it. But I say stuff like that kind of as a joke.
Right.
But if you reading an article and they start out saying stuff like that about somebody,
They're already biased. Yeah.
they're so biased it's not worth reading the article.
And if they're
And either way,
inflammatory.
plus or minus.
I remember he was watching a thing Anderson Cooper. He really, I don't really get into politics as much as he does, but it really upset me because he said Trump is no longer the enemy. If you vote for Trump, you are the enemy.
Wow.
And I was extremely offended. I don't know if I would vote for Trump since I have my own personal issues with him, which is probably something this probably isn't the right area to get into that since, you know.
Could be.
But the fact that they could just say, just because somebody disagrees with you politically, not even like personally, like they just disagree, they have a different opinion than you, and now you're calling them essentially an enemy of America. It upset me a lot.
No, so you know it's interesting though how you say it, but if you understand what's happening in the world, then you can understand why Anderson Cooper said that. But if he's an anchor and a reporter, he shouldn't be saying that, right? Right.
He should have an objective.
If that's his role to be objective, then he should be objective, right? But he has skin in the game, because this really is a war, right? There's a war. It's a war between the people who want globalism.
Yep.
And the people who want communism and they want everybody in control, and the people like me and your grandfather, right, who want freedom and want to abide by our Constitution. It really is a war.
Well, I don't think either side is an enemy of America. I also think both sides kind of they kind of like think that the other side is doing more than they are to destroy America or whatever. Like, left thinks that every Republican is a racist that wants white people to rule the world, or at least the far left does, like CNN and whatnot, and then the far right, or maybe not the far right, since I wouldn't really consider you two far right, at least not that I know of.
I am on his right.
But
you're on my left.
That's an excellent point.
I'm just saying. I'm just making an observation.
I don't really know that the left wants a one world government. You know, maybe they do, but I mean the fact of the matter is you wouldn't know unless it happened.
Yeah,
Well,
I think
how about if I say it in a different way, though, because I think it's a good point, right? I think that the people who have power, like the Nancy Pelosi's, the Paul Ryan, the Schumer, right, McConnell, the people who have power want the one world government.
they do. That's
It's
actually
right.
the actual one of the quote unquote big players in New Hampshire is the Koch brothers. What do they say?
Yes.
Lori Davis.
Yeah.
No, not Lori Davis. Koch brothers, and the Koch brothers actually support open borders.
Right.
Okay, open borders is a code word for what the elite want is complete openness, so anybody can go anywhere at any time.
Right.
And to control that, you would need a one world united government to actually control people, and they don't want an independent, sovereign United States of America.
Yeah, but you gotta understand what you're saying to me is like when CNN says that Donald Trump molests dogs or something. Like, they come up with some ridiculous thing.
Right, but this is true, though, because the UN
Right, but
actually
they think it's true, too.
No. The UN actually put out a plan. It's called Agenda 21. There's
Yeah,
actually a plan for that. That's what, I mean, you know, you wouldn't know this, but a lot of people don't know that.
No, they
But
don't.
there is a plan out there. There is a plan that I do a live stream. I don't know if you have ever watched my live stream
No,
on
I
Tuesday
don't,
nights,
no.
but I explain to people, like I get a softball, right? And I say, everything that's this is the New World Order, right? And everything that's happening, whether it's immigration, the invasion, you know, healthcare, the lawlessness, all of that is connected. Global warming, the bike paths, the apartments, it's all connected to globalism
It is.
and the one world order.
If you look at some of the issues that we're constantly facing. On the face of them, they seem kind of like legitimate issues, but if you dig down just a little bit, you realize that there's only like, for instance, the Second Amendment issue.
That's part of it.
It's part of it because the only way they can gain complete control over everything is if everybody's defenseless. And the American people having the right to bear arms is a thorn in their side, and that's why I think it was Obama agreed to a UN treaty. It wasn't a treaty because it didn't get ratified by the Senate, but it was a tacit agreement, and part of the UN's that agreement is that people can't have like long guns and stuff like that. I forget.
Right.
I don't know
Right.
about
There was
handguns.
something. There was
So
something on there.
There is a global effort to try to,
Right.
and if you look at what Obama did, it was he deliberately was trying to destabilize
He did.
the Middle East.
He did.
Yeah, he did
Did a
big
good
time.
job.
It's just like, it seems like two things. One, when somebody says something, whether it's on the right or on the left, you automatically think, like, they'll say, this is the case, and then you'll connect dots in your head to make sense of it. It kind of happens naturally. When you hear something, you think, oh, that's stupid, or something like that, and then you start connecting things, and because no theory just comes out of left field completely. Everything has some kind of merit. There's obviously some kind of connection between everything. Otherwise, somebody, like, unless it's intentionally satire. So you start connecting dots and you think, it's like...
It sounds like a crazy idea,
Yeah,
doesn't it?
but like, when somebody says, I don't know, maybe this is a bad example, but somebody says, you're depressed, you automatically think you feel depressed.
Power of suggestion.
Right, but also it just seems like you're connecting dots just because you want the other side to be so drastically in the wrong.
Okay, I get what you're saying, but the thing is, if you investigate it thoroughly, it becomes more and more clear
Well, I'm sure
what's going on.
Well, you can see it. And to Ricky, I don't know if if you've ever read about Agenda 21, it's now called Agenda 2030.
Right.
So just read about that. When you start to read about Agenda 21 and they talk about wealth redistribution, right? Climate change, all of that stuff, like
Socialism, communism.
the health, all right, and living in a community. I don't know what's going on in New Hampshire, but you come to Massachusetts, I should give tours to people, and they can see that globalism and Agenda 21 is alive and busting at the seams in Massachusetts. It's frightening.
Yeah, if you look at, I'll give you one of the examples is in New Hampshire what they're doing, and we're fighting back. Let's see what time we got. I can't run out of time.
Do we do a commercial?
No, we don't do no commercial. We don't do no stinking commercials.
Well, I think we could make a commercial.
Oh yeah. So
OxyClean.
in New Hampshire, what they're doing is the federal government has under Obama was, and I'm sure Bush too. Bush was a globalist too. Under Obama was redefining what waterways the federal government had control over.
Right.
The original idea is that the federal government had control over navigable waterways, i.e. channels that went up or harbors and things like that, anything that was attached to the ocean where it was navigable by, ships, that the federal government had some sort of say over that. Well, they redefined it under the Agenda 21 and redefined navigable to, I think, if you could do it with a
Canoe or something.
Canoe or something,
Right.
to increase that breadth and scope of what they had control over, so that they could say, okay, well, you can't build here, you can't build within X number of feet of this, and it slowly but surely is decreasing the quantity of available land to the citizens.
And that's the plan.
That's the plan. And actually, if you really, I wish I knew the lady's name. There's a lady from California who was I think she was a building assessor for the state of California, and she was one of the first people to say, hey, wait a second, this is getting really, really bad. And she's actually, it's funny because she's a Democrat and she's lesbian, and when she came out with her talks, that wasn't that popular a thing to say. So she said, I'm so far to the left you can't believe it.
But yet, she sees
this is what I'm seeing all over the place, where the government is more and more encroaching on people's property and say, well, you can't build here, and so somebody buys a piece of property and then they can't like build an addition or put a garage up because they're
well, you have to put solar panels on now in California.
Yeah, exactly.
With a new building. But to your point, this is not a left or right issue.
Yeah, it isn't.
This is not a left or right issue. Like you know, it's not. It's not a left or right. They're trying to make it that way, but it is smoke and mirrors, right? Because these people are on the same side.
But
the higher ups.
If I were with modern, like the way that you can research things now, I'm sure I could find enough evidence to believe that Satan will come to Earth in 2020. Like, it's just hard to believe very many things on Google or enough things. It's hard to believe the research that you can put in when so much of it could be fabricated.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, I've talked to people, but to your point, 2 years ago, when I was on the Trump campaign, I remember this woman, and she said, what are we doing? And because, the campaign was stagnant. And she said, the New World Order. She was hysterical. And I'm like, oh my goodness, she's out to lunch. What is she talking about, this New World Order, right? I was like, what is going on here?
This is when you're just getting your feet wet.
When to get my feet wet, right? This was during the campaign. And probably in the last few months of the campaign, last 4 months. And I thought, she's out to lunch. But then after, because Trump would say things that were connected to this now in retrospect, right? So I understand why so many people got on board with him, because they knew more than I did, but my gut was telling me he was on the right path.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until even the last year when I started to talk to people. I go to talks, I read stuff, read books. When I see things, I ask people, and I've met so many people that I know who to ask now. And I started to put the pieces together.
Right.
So it wasn't even like I put the pieces together before knowing there was a name for it.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? Like
I do.
something, and one of the biggest things that troubled me, I would spend a lot of time driving up and down the east coast of Massachusetts.
Right.
Okay? So whether it's from Gloucester, to Lynn, Salem, Beverly, Revere, right? Somerville, or go in the city, I'm thinking all you see are high-rises going up for people. And I kept saying, who's going in these? And they were always near rail stations.
Okay.
And they are.
Right.
Right? Because Agenda 20, and I didn't know this, so I reached out to somebody. I sent an email. And I said, I don't understand this. What's going on? And that's when I started to read about 40B. In Massachusetts, they have this thing called 40B. I don't know if you know what that is.
No, I don't.
But it's a way to get out of the zoning regulations that a town has. If you say that you'll give X amount of apartments or units to affordable housing. It's a way to get past zoning, but it's all a big scam how these contractors and politicians are making a lot of money.
Right.
But the thing that drove me to do a little more research was that I'm like, where all of these apartment complexes are going up along the commuter rail.
Right.
What's up with that?
Yeah, they're trying to. Their overall agenda is to force everybody into little into cities,
Sustainable cities.
and then eliminate property rights beyond the city.
Exactly. And then limit your freedom of movement, and that's why it has to be on the commuter rail.
Yep.
Because you can only go where they want you to go.
Okay.
I think we should get off the New World Order issue because I will continue attempting to argue, and you will continue
Well, you can argue, but
attempting to argue my point, and it's just going to go around in circles.
Well, okay, but anyway,
I'll just say one thing.
yeah, go ahead.
Take a road trip to South Weymouth, Massachusetts. South Weymouth, Massachusetts. It's called Union Point.
Yeah.
Globalist city. Huge. You got to see it to believe it. That's it. Union Point,
No,
South Weymouth. Take him with you.
I mean, I've had enough trips this summer.
Take him in the fall.
yeah, he went to with DC with me a couple.
And I'm going to
last week.
Maine this week.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
we were at the White House last week,
Oh, good for you.
and we listened to Ben Carson.
I don't think that my employer is too happy about how many days I'm taking off.
Yeah, your young ones. So anyway, to your point though, and I want to get back to fake news, is on this show in October and November of 16, I told people specifically that as much as the BS you're hearing in the news, this election is about globalism versus nationalism.
You're right.
Period.
You're right.
They do not want Trump because Trump's going to actually do what he can to close the borders. They don't want him coming in because he's going to actually do something about making sure that people come to the United States want to actually immigrate and become part of society, not come in and devastate society. And there's the whole myriad of things that Trump was doing, which are because he cares about the country. Whereas if Hillary was elected,
650% increase she wanted in refugees.
yeah, exactly.
650%.
Right.
That's outrageous.
Yes. But anyway, fake news.
Fake news.
Fake news. Okay, so yesterday, well, I'll give you some fake. See, I've been following fake news forever, and I'll give you a couple examples. I call NPR National Propaganda Radio.
It is. Are we still funding them?
Not
I know
much,
President
but
Trump wanted to get
yeah,
rid.
I
I
know.
think we need to defund them.
Yeah, we got to get rid
We
of
need to
rid
defund
of rhinos out of the Congress first, I guess. National Propaganda Radio. I was with my son when he was 2009. This is a great example of fake news. So the Democrats had complete control of the House, the Senate, and the presidency. They always claimed that they would take care of the border. They had complete control. They did zero about the border. So their assertion that they care about controlling the border is absolutely BS. They had the chance and they didn't do it. But anyway, the biggest threat to our liberty was the massive expansion of the federal government called Obamacare,
Yep, I got
which
killed.
they shoved through.
Killed. I got murdered.
Right.
Murdered.
So we had a rally in Washington D.C. in 2009. It was like the Patriot Rally. I forget what it's called. But anyway, the media claimed that everybody that was going down there because they hated a black president. Okay? When the people that were going down there, many of them who were also black, were going down there because they were afraid and didn't want the federal government growing exponentially. They were afraid of the loss of liberty. They were resented the fact that they forced something like Obamacare through, and
Without even reading it.
without even reading it.
Pelosi, didn't she say? She
We
said,
have to pass
we
it.
have to pass it to know what's in it, like 2,700 pages.
Right.
Would you hire a contractor or a doctor? If a doctor said, "Oh, I want to cut you open," well, why? Well, I have to,
I have to cut you open
but
to find out
do
why
a
I got to
CAT scan.
operate.
Right, do a CAT scan, do an MRI, right? Take an X-ray.
So the press, and they fabricated some story about somebody spitting at somebody. I was there, okay? There was at least 500,000 people there. I was there, and there was no racism. It was all about issue, but the press made it about racism. Okay? That's what the press did. Now, so this is 500,000 people. Nobody got arrested. Okay? The patriots going down there to protest. Nobody got arrested. They did not throw things at people. They did not break windows like these morons in Antifa. They did not do any of that. In fact, they cleaned up after themselves. This is the kind of people that went down there, and the media completely maligned them, as if they were all just white supremacists or some crap. So 500,000 people get together. I have to drive home that night. I think it was that night. Yeah, because it's like 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm coming up through Rhode Island on 95. National Propaganda Radio spends 2 or 3 minutes talking about Sabrina Williams winning a tennis match, right? Maybe tops 30 seconds. About 500,000 people.
Right.
They downplayed the number.
Right.
First thing, they downplayed the number, and then they ignored the story.
Yep, that's fake news.
It's absolutely fake propaganda, because what they do is, if it's something they don't like, they just don't cover it.
Right. Or if it doesn't fit their narrative. But remember, there are politicians that are married to the heads of news organizations.
Yeah, they're all in
there's a
bed together.
There's a conflict of interest there, because if you're my husband and you're in Congress,
I gotta
and
tell my wife about that.
what am I gonna What am I gonna say?
And Michael.
Right? What am I gonna say?
Right.
What am I gonna say? I'm gonna say, you can't write that about my husband.
Right.
Right? He'll lose his, that scandal. You can't write that, right? And that's how it gets filtered.
Yep, and it
Because
gets
it
filtered.
is a conflict of interest.
It's a conflict because they also get inside information they're
inside
not supposed to get. It is absolutely. I think there's layers to this. I think you have globalism versus nationalism, and you have inside politicians. I think is the big part, the swamp, versus the rest of the population.
Who are just corrupt.
They're just
on
corrupt.
both sides of the aisle. It's not.
How many? It'd be cool if somebody would do this. I would love somebody to do, and I don't care what party. I'd love somebody to do research and find out. Take Congressman A, right? How much are they worth when they go to Washington, and how much are they worth after two or three terms?
Right. So this is what I do. So to Ricky, this is what I do. I read an article in the newspaper, and say it's about Charlie Baker, my favorite. I attack him every day.
Yeah.
So I'll see something, and they'll say, "Oh, well, he just signed a contract with Gary Hooper." So
Right.
then I'll put in Charlie Baker, Gary Hooper, and see what else comes up. Then I go to OCPF. Do you know what that is?
No.
In Office of Campaign and Political Finance. It's
Okay.
where it's public record, where donations are made to candidates.
Right.
And then I'll put in your name. And then I'll see, oh, you donated. And then I'll put your business in there. And everybody in your business donates. That's how it's so easy. If a name comes up, even if it's not in a paper, if a name comes up, and I have not heard of this person, I'll put them in to an internet search with certain politicians, the governor, right?
Yeah.
Maybe the attorney general. And then you can start, it's very simple. It's a very simple thing. Like I've learned so much about, and then I check to see, do they donate? Who donates to whom?
Right.
And then you can check, there's a website in the Herald, which is a paper out of Boston, puts the salaries of people
Yeah.
who have state jobs or government jobs, the T, any of that stuff, right? You can go in that and put the person's name in. And you can find out, because it's so easy. These people are all connected one way or another through money.
Yep.
Or through an appointment, right? Through a job, through a contract. It's so easy. But you can do the same thing. I just don't have the time.
Right.
It's somebody's husband. Oh gosh,
Feinstein.
no, it's what's her name?
Feinstein.
No,
how
yeah.
husbands making bank.
Yes, and the other one from California.
Pelosi.
No, the one that always goes after Trump.
Oh.
I can't think of her name.
What's one that was
It's not
threatening Trump and telling people
Impeach
that
45.
Impeach
Impeach
45.
45. I can't.
that begins with W.
Why am I blanking?
Waters? No.
Yeah, Maxine.
Maxine
There you go,
Maxine.
If I think it was her husband, something with Frank Dodd and getting his like 35 million, getting a bailout, right? The government is supposed to be able. They're hired by us to take care of, not to take care of us, but to do what's right by us.
Right.
Right. But what they do is they pass laws, right, that help the people that are filling their bank accounts. That's what they do.
That's all they do.
And that's exactly why President Trump got elected. And it's not just the left, it's not just the right. It's this whole swamp of people who have no integrity, who most likely some of these people probably got in and they were okay, and then they started to press the boundaries, right? And then you're in deep. You can't go back. You got to stay in,
Yep.
right? You're in the swamp. You're already corrupt.
Yeah, there's some really good, and I've talked to people who run for, thinking of running for Congress, and the deal is, and this is how corrupt it is if you get elected, okay, the drug company comes to somebody and says, we need this bill. So leadership writes up the bill, and the drug company works with them, and they have people on that thing, and they get the bill together.
Yep.
That helps the drug company and protects them from, say, out-of-country competition. So they write the bill up. Then they go, I get elected, and they go to me and say, Gary, you need to co-sponsor this bill. I said, well, what's in it? And I look at it and say, well, I'm not sure I agree with this. Oh, well, you have to co-sponsor it. Because if I co-sponsor it, which makes it look like everybody's in favor of it,
Now you're culpable.
that drug company will give $5,000 to the PAC that will reelect people back to the.
That's exactly right.
Okay, so basically, within a few terms, either A, you're completely an outsider, so you can't get anything done, or anything that you have a value that they can get done, they'll just give it the name to somebody else. They'll give credit to somebody else. If you do not cooperate, they run people against you.
Right. No, that's what happens.
And
it's corrupt.
that is why Trump in Massachusetts is a great example, the one you're talking about in Massachusetts. That's why so many people were attacking Trump from within the Republican Party, because he's not part of the game.
And it's affecting their business model. This is their business model. I've researched. You look to see the jobs that are given by Charlie Baker to somebody, and then the donations start to go into his bank account. I'm not kidding you. You have, and it's $1,000 per person, $2,000 per household. So the husband and wife will give $1,000, right? Now these people, some of them are making a lot of money, and so you say, well, where's that? They've only given $2,000. No, I'm convinced, and it's hard to get the proof because they don't have to disclose donors. But these people who are making a lot of money are giving money to the PACs that turn around and help Charlie Baker. And that helps him stay in office.
Right.
So that's the corrupt system. That is the swamp.
Yep.
And you can't and it's not right.
It is not.
It's unethical, it's wrong, it's fraud, it's criminal. Whatever word you want to put on it, and I know I'm giving maybe descriptors,
Right.
but I'm not a journalist, right? I'm not. I never have said I'm a journalist.
Right.
And I'm just speaking the truth, because that's what it is.
Yep.
And I only know this because I looked at it.
Right.
Because none of it made sense to me. I said, how can you tell me that you want to win when I could do this with my hands, both hands tied behind my back?
Right,
I've learned to
right.
type with my tongue or my toes.
Right,
I could
right.
get this stuff done. I could make Massachusetts red. Give me that leadership role, and in 1 year, I'll make Massachusetts red.
Right.
I will.
Yep. That's it. That's just it. They don't care about red. What they care about
Is green.
Is green.
They care about green and silver and gold.
Silver and
I know he's
Don't
thinking the
sing.
same thing.
Please don't sing.
Silver and
silver
gonna sing.
and gold.
All right, we gotta go,
so
right?
much more.
Yeah, we gotta- we
when
gotta-
All
I
right.
see.
I'll
What
do
time is
your
it?
closing statement. Okay,
What
don't
time
worry.
is it? This was so much fun. I don't want to leave.
You can, well,
Don't
we
worry,
can
I
go out
got
in the other
this.
room.
No,
got
I'm kidding.
this.
But we're not on the air. So this
No,
was
we're-
fun.
We're still on the air.
I got this.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
All right.
Lay it
Remember
on.
to always tune into Rock, Paper, Hand Grenades, because I might be on.
That's a good point. Last but not least, thank you very much, young lady, for being
Well,
on
thank
the
you.
show.
And I'm not a candidate.
I know.
But I did stay in a Holiday Inn.
You stayed
Congrats.
here in Holiday Inn?
No, but that's a commercial.
Remember, if you drink and drive, use somebody else's car. Have a good night.